Ribhu and Emraan, absolute pleasure to talk to you, and from me, Hrishi K, and everybody who's watching and listening. Thank you for a great series, man. I mean, I binge watched the hell out of it.
Thank you.
You always start thinking you'd do an episode before you doze off. And then if you manage to go the whole log, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, there are dialogues in Pashto, which I think is really, really interesting. I mean, the traditional way of doing it is just do an accented Hindi.
Hindi, yeah.
There is a bit of that too, but predominantly the Talibanis are speaking in Pashto. Did you get a dialogue coach for that?
We did.
How did that work?
We did. And also like how you said that the idea was to make the show very real and very authentic. So if we are shooting or showing Balochistan or Afghanistan, the locals speak Pashto, and we can't make our characters or actors who are playing characters from Afghanistan or Balochistan speak Hindi or any other language. So we had to be true to the local land. So yes, there's a lot of Pashto, there's Urdu, and we had dialogue coaches for all the actors.
You know, Imran, I thought it was a very interesting relationship and dynamic between Rajit Kapoor's character and yours. I mean, there's obviously a connection, there's like a father-son kind of bond, but maybe because of the limitations of time, it wasn't explored completely. Like, it left me saying, why are they so connected to each other? What is that bond and things like that? Did you discuss that with Ribhu or Bilal or any of the writers saying, can we spend more time on this relationship? Or are you the kind who says, they've written it that way, let me just execute it this way?
No, I think there are two ways of approaching it. I mean, there is a takeoff point in the first two episodes where, yes, in the beginning you show the relationship, and through the season you might show certain instances of the relationship. But eventually, coming back to the main plot, it's about the mission. I think if we had lingered on too much on that, it would be a situation where the audience would be like, get on with it. We're here for the mission, because that's what the show's mounting is. It's pitched as that. 4 agents are captured, time is ticking, 5 days or 6 days, whatever, and these guys have to go get them back. So I think it's the information they've given out in those few scenes that the mentor, it went sour. The portion where you see how he was reprimanded by his seniors and he was expelled, and that's enough to gauge that he felt let down by a guy who he respected a lot. So I think that was enough to kind of set the tone.
So when Bilal wrote the book, he was 20 years old, and obviously as we age, we attain a different perspective in life. Did he now that he's gotten a little older and he's working on the screenplay, did he come around to you and say often, let's change this around? In any case, you have to change things around for a screenplay. Did a lot of that happen?
Yeah, I mean, when you're adapting a book to a novel, of course, the format is 7 episodes, long format. You have to have, also it's a 7 episode series. You have to have cliffhangers every single episode. And I think the way it has been adapted by Mayank and Bilal, I think it's when I joined and they had already started writing a couple of episodes, and I read them after reading the book. So I really thought that the way they're adapting it was really cool, and the terrain, the kind of atmosphere they were building, creating, it was true to the book. Yet I think the screenplay is much more evolved, like you're saying, because it has to be. Because the book was written, a few years back. So I think the screenplay adaptation was much more evolved than the book, which was 5 years back.
As a fan of your work, and I've watched everything, I've interviewed you so many times, I know you're not the sort who will say, yeah, Kabir Anand is great, let's sign this. Did you read the book? Or if not, did you read the screenplay? What is it that took you in about Bard of Blood? What is it that just overwhelmed you about it, and you said, I have to do this?
Yeah, I launched the book in India, in Mumbai in 2015.
Correct.
With Bilal, and that's the time when I was writing my book with him. What struck me was just how entertaining the read was. I read it in a couple of days. I loved the character of Kabir Anand. I thought it was a breezy read. And then I heard that it's being adapted into a original series, Netflix, and Red Chilli's on board. And I think I was sold primarily because of that, because of the people involved, because I loved the book. Also because just the one line of what the character was a spy who's also a Shakespeare teacher. And that was it. I think I was sold on that one line. I found it fascinating because so many visuals come to mind, and that in itself is so engaging because when you catch Kabir in the first frame, he's this guy who's suffering from PTSD. He's a guy who is he was his average Joe. He's teaching in a school. He drives a small car. He lives in a middle class home. And then you discover as scenes go by, God, he's capable of this, and he's capable of this, and he's a spy. The first scene where you actually come to know how fierce he is the interrogation scene in the second season, in the second episode. And like, God, he's capable of this. He's not the guy we saw in the first episode. From there, right to the end, in the 7th episode, you're like, two different people. This guy who's, he uses the kind of the guns and he's so good at it and the combat. Like, this is not the same guy as in the. So I think that was the selling point for me.
That's what I want to come to now. Now, there is no discounting the fact that he is a sloppy professori physically, and then he's been pushed into action, back into action. But the fact is, he's still wielding AK-47s and Kalashnikovs or whatever it is. So the physicality of it, did you work on your body? I'm not saying like doing push-ups and showing six packs.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We made sure we were very clear that when we saw him first, he's a little rusty. You see him a backless shot of him. We're not like touched him up with like bulging muscles, or I'm not like done anything to kind of make him look like he's completely fit.
Yeah.
He's off the force 5 years. So I didn't want to train to the point where it looked like, okay, he's a professor, he's been training for 5 years, he's battling these demons from his past and he still has time to work out. So there was actually a scene where we show him working out in the initial draft. We removed it.
That's interesting.
Because that would be a traditional way to start the character. But we have to show him rusty because you feel that he's probably not up for this. He was up for it 5 years back. There was a legend of Adness in the agency. But probably he's not that guy anymore. And you still see in scenes post that in the forthcoming episodes where he's struggling sometimes because he's a bit rusty.
The vulnerability in the character is very important because you cannot have from day one that a character who's not been in the force for the last 5 years can actually do it. You have to feel that he cannot do it. Then you will root for the character.
So it's fantastic. I mean, how do you recreate this terrain, Kech and Balochistan, Quetta? Where did you film? Was it Ladakh or is it like a secret?
No, so initially we never wanted to reveal where we shot, but we shot extensively in Leh Ladakh and some parts in Rajasthan because we were very clear that we have to recreate the terrain how it is actually in Balochistan or Afghanistan or Pakistan because that atmosphere, because if you see any international series, the way they throw the atmosphere on your face, it just blows your mind. So when we started doing it and we knew that this is for Netflix, it has a global reach over 190 countries. This was the show that from India which can actually push the barriers and we can actually give an international show from India. So we had to choose our locations very carefully. So there was a lot of scouting which happened before we actually filmed. And finally Leh Ladakh is where we settled in. But also locations in Leh Ladakh where people have shot in Leh Ladakh. But the kind of locations we finally found and settled in, I think they have been unexplored.
Yeah, yours is more bare and rugged as opposed to the blue lakes all the time.
Yeah.
So, the Shahrukh promos are remarkable. And full marks to him, to just, be goofing around and things like that. And you ended up looking the cool guy. And,
I mean, you have to have a star of his stature to be extremely confident and just the whole self-deprecating humor in that skit. I don't know if any other Bollywood stars that would have been okay with that kind of content in that promo. But I think this speaks volumes of the kind of person that he is.
I think also I suspect that he likes Emraan.
I'm hoping he does. He let me put a bag on his head. Otherwise, he's cursing me right now.
I think fundamentally he likes you. I mean, I'm not saying you guys hang out together and party together, but I'm just saying, it just comes across that
I think there's a mutual respect for sure. And I think, I've always admired him as an artist, and what really struck me was just through this season of the way he's during the edit, the kind of feedback that he's given and how smart he's been in kind of tweaking things for the show. And then finally this marketing campaign where he played that skit out. I was pretty blown away with how he's kind of always kind of overseen things for the show.
So I'm an audio guy, so I love looking at or hearing background scores, and it's a fantastic background score. I mean, it's very 24-esque. It goes like a thriller, and then suddenly there are portions when it just drops. There's silence. Superb BGM. So who did you get to do that?
We did the background score by the gentleman called Gilad. He's based in Israel, and he's the same person who did background for Fauda.
Wow, that's the Israeli show. That's fantastic.
That's the Israeli show,
Yeah. The Mullah's son, very interesting actor. I don't know. I know Danish, who is playing the Taliban
Mullah,
leader.
yeah.
Who's he? I mean,
He's again, he's an actor. So like casting process was again extensive process because we wanted to have solid actors, because the way each and every character was written, we needed solid performers to portray them. So the casting was also an extensive. It took some time. So Aftab is played by an actor who's from Kashmir.
wow.
Yeah, so we had to fetch actors.
I think it was the first time around that he's actually,
it's actually his
facing
first.
the camera.
Yeah, actually
He's done theatre, and I was pretty blown away when he said that it's the first time I'm actually facing the camera.
So, Ribhu's process is what? I mean, does he explain the scene? There are directors who will act it out, who will explain it out, and there are people who just let you be. And you worked with all sorts. What is his process?
No, I think he's very clear about what he wants, and he obviously engages with you beforehand. And for a show like this, it's very important. The pre-production is more important than obviously the execution is important. But if you don't get the pre-production right, it would fall and crumble. I think what was great about him was that he really engaged with me and the other actors in reading sessions and trying to explain of how he envisioned it, and then let our imagination play out. And then just tweak things on the set. He's the kind of guy who's, he was extremely calm. You have a director who is this mad hat on the set, and it can really, fluster everyone on the set when you have so much of workload. Because you're shooting, in 80 days, you're shooting stuff that's almost 2 films worth, 5 hours of footage. So if you have a guy who's not chilled out, he's a very chill guy, and at the same time, he's extremely clear. You know that he's got your back. He's very clear. So if you got any questions, he's very clearly stating things and telling you that no, let's go this way because it might affect this episode in this sense. So yeah.
Last couple of questions. You got lucky. You had Mr. Bachchan, then you have Emraan Hashmi. I love Kirti's character. I mean, it's beautiful, and their love story, which is so understated. They could easily be smooching the hell out of each other, given his.
We were actually going to do that. We kind of almost did.
At the right time,
nice.
You know one of the reasons why it didn't happen? People don't know this. My son was on the set that day. It was a library scene. And I was like, please, my son's here, man.
My reputation is
Please, my reputation at stake.
No, but we decided.
You get confused.
We decided in the beginning of the series that, this
Mom's
is...
at home, who's this?
So, she doesn't have a trace of any kind of accent. We are to presume that she studied abroad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
No,
okay.
she actually in the scene, she actually mentions to him that she's come back from the UK after studying art there. So,
okay, the last one has got to be what an ending. We're not going to give any spoilers away. Fantastic. A lot of people, a journalist outside told me, man, 7 episodes is too much. I said, no, but I thought maybe you could explore Emraan and Rajit's character more. Maybe they should have done 10. So there are going to be differing opinions on this.
Yeah.
Some will say there should have been 6. Some would say there are 10. But, you obviously set yourself up for season 2. So do you have a fix on how many episodes you're going to do, or are you just going to let it flow?
no, see, as of now, we'll wait for the 27th. We'll see how it goes.
See the reactions.
And then we'll leave it to Netflix to come back to us and decide.
Anyways, you set the stage for a second season.
Yeah.
So,
And how?
and how.
Super.
Yes.
Listen, thanks, guys, and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Cheers.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.